So what do agents actually do? As always, I'm receiving loads of DMs. Samuel, does my son need an agent? Samuel, at what age do I get an agent for my son? Samuel, what does agents actually do? So here's another video for you guys, for families, for players, where I try to give loads of value. You've liked my last raw video talking to the camera with not many edits, so here's another one for you. And I'm taking you with me to my commute to one of the offices. Yeah, so you can keep me company and I can keep you company. My name is Samuel, I'm a football agent, I'm a registered FIFA agent here in London. I work in Europe, mainly Italy, UK, Spain, Belgium, Holland, and this is life as a football agent. I'm the only channel where you can find a lot of behind the scenes, all the stuff that agents can't normally talk about. As always, I try to give you loads of info and loads of behind the scenes here in this channel. So let's dive into it. Before we start, guys, I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments who you are, where you're from, where you're following the channel from, if you have any questions. We are building an incredible community and I want to hear more from you guys, so let me know in the comments. Right, so to understand what agents can actually do, we need to go first through the things that agents can't do and should not do. This should be quite useful as well. So point number one, agents should not guarantee moving to a club, minutes, or a specific career outcome. This is because they can't control these things. Yes, sometimes a club can give a mandate to an agent because they are interested in a specific player, and that's the only time they can try to sign you up to bring you to a club. But if an agent is promising they will take you to a specific club, they will take you somewhere, they can guarantee you minutes at that club, then it's a big red flag, guys. One, because it's not possible. If it is possible, then you really don't want to be in that position. You don't want to be at that club where things are decided by agencies and agents, because managers can change, sporting directors can change, and things can change. So first big red flag. An agent's job is to create opportunities, not outcomes. So don't fall in that trap. It happened recently that a player said, I'll sign with you if you can take me here. And we refused those type of players. We end up not signing them because it's something that we can't guarantee, and I'll never promise something I can't deliver. Point number two on things agents can't or shouldn't do is force a transfer, force a move. Remember, the club always has control. Of course, an agent can facilitate things, can talk to the club, can talk to the sporting director, can try to sort out problems, can facilitate a move, can create opportunities and put opportunities on the table, but agents just can't force a move. The end decision about a loan, about buying a player, about a player leaving a club is always on the club side. Point number three, agents should not sort out all the players' issues and family problems and all sorts on his own. He's there to advise you guys, to help you, to support, but he also needs to get help from professionals when there are major issues. He needs to get help from lawyers, from psychologists, from doctors. You just can't sort out all the problems on his own, and you don't want somebody taking that sort of action. Point number four of things that agents should not or cannot do is putting their interest in front of the player's interest. Now, a player should not be forced to sign a contract that is not a benefit for him. A player should not be forced into a move if it doesn't benefit him. And it might sound an easy thing, but trust me guys, it doesn't always happen. Agents should be ready to lose money and lose players if that's the best interest for the player. So, different day, but I have another long walk, so let's carry on. We've seen what an agent can't be doing and shouldn't be doing. I hope that is clear, and now let's see what an agent should be doing and should do for you. Point number one is the most important one.
representing you, of course, and to do that in the best way, there needs to be strategy and planning. So the agent should absolutely understand where you're at, what's your current level, where you're playing and where you should be playing or where you can be playing. This is not potential, this is not in 5-10 years time, this is like this year, next year, this season, next season, in order to understand if you're at the right level, if you need to go somewhere else, in order then to plan for the next 5 and 10 years. I guess that is point number one and first thing an agent should be doing and should do. Career strategy and long-term planning. Of course, when we're talking about strategy and planning and assessing your current situation, an agent should also understand the family, the support you have around you, what a player is looking for, because some players seek a certain type of football, a certain type of lifestyle. Some players are more focused on the financial side, some players are more focused on the long-term achievements, the long-term success they can get on the field. So every player is different, every player is unique, and the most important point is to assess and understand the player you are working with and the player you are trying to help. The second point, really important, that an agent should be doing when representing you is contracts, transfers and loans. This of course is one of the most important parts of the job. You need to find a club when a player is not playing. You need to negotiate the contract. You need to understand if it's time for a player to move club. Find a club that is interested in the player, that will give him better exposure, that will help him possibly doing a step up in his career. A step up doesn't always mean going higher. Sometimes you do need to take a few steps back to go back up. And then loans. Loans can be a very important process and moment for a player. Sometimes it's a good timing, sometimes you want to do the loan, sometimes you want to avoid the loan. It really depends on what opportunities you have for the loan. Point number two is fundamental, guys. As we said in the things not to do, like the transfers and the moves sometimes and the loans as well. Players can really do things just because an agent is pushing, and that is not the right thing to do. That is not the right move for him, and that can really affect the player's career. Point number three of what an agent should be doing and what is the actual job of an agent is relationship management with clubs and staff. So of course, when you have a player in a club, you really want to understand the dynamics of that club. What are the goals of that club? You want to keep a good relationship with the sporting director, possibly with the staff, but of course at high levels is not always possible because not every agent will be talking to the coaches, and it's not just the right thing. Coaches will try to, rightly so, isolate themselves, because imagine having 30 agents or more ringing them every day or every 2 days, it just wouldn't work. So that's why the sporting director is there. That's why other members of staff, other members of the club are there to support the players' staff and the agent in understanding what's the situation, how the player is doing, what the club is thinking. There is this misconception that agents are just fighting with clubs and so on. It's not true. Good agents are able to work well with the club and work in line with the club and support each other, because if the player is at a club and is not playing and is not doing well, that is a problem for both the club and the agent. So you want to have a good relationship with the clubs, you want to be able to have a good communication with the club in order to help and support your player as best as you can. Point number four of what the actual job of an agent is and what an agent should be doing is weekly support of things around football regarding the player, of things happening on the pitch and in the dressing room, and talking with your player, understanding what's the situation, who's playing, how is he feeling, how is he training, support with the staff that you can provide the player in terms of like extra coaching, extra one-to-one sessions, a match analyst to review games and try to improve week after week. So all the management, all the things that happen around the football, around the pitch, around the dressing room. Players, they need somebody to talk to, they need somebody that also have other info from the club and from other colleagues, other agents, other players. So point number four, super important. Don't get into the wrong habits of being a coach, of being a manager, because you're not. But at the same time, if you're an agent, if you're a good agent, you've been around football for a long time, you understand things, you know things, you understand dynamics, and that's where you can support your player, or you can provide extra support with professionals. Point number 5 is day-to-day care for everything that is not football. So relocation, housing, cars, parties, holidays, things he's going to, events he wants to attend, girlfriend, wife, issues, lawyers, everything that is not football related. Working so closely with the player, you have his best interest, and the player knows that. Most of the times knows that, and most of the times you should always have the player's best interest. So it's in our interest as agents to make sure he's doing well outside of the pitch as well, and make sure he's not taking advantage, he's in a good place mentally, and support him, help him with issues he has outside of the field, outside of the pitch. Again, don't do the mistake of wanting to do everything on your own to sort out every issue or every problem. Use professionals, use lawyers, use people that can actually help the player in that field. I must say, on this point number 5, there is one important thing. Not every player is the same, and not every player wants or needs the same support. Not every player wants you to have full access and will share with you every detail, and that's fine. I feel the important thing there is to understand your player, to understand what he's looking for, to understand if he needs extra support, and be okay if he doesn't want to share it with you. You can't be your player's best friend or every one of your player's best friends, and that's fine. The important thing is understanding if your player wants that sort of relationship or not, and what you want from the relationship with your player as well. But regardless of that, make sure you at least try, and make sure you at least understand if the player needs support outside of the pitch, outside of the dressing room. Point number 6 of the job of an agent, and what an agent should be doing, is PR, image rights, social media. This doesn't mean that you should be handling and managing the player's social media, but being in the industry so long, and especially if you haven't got a background in marketing or if you haven't got experience in that sense, it's very important that you hire someone that can help you with that. I come from a marketing background and social media background as well, and we still use professionals, but at the same time I do have a understanding of what's going on, what happens. And for example, at Entourage, in terms of collaboration with brands, we have probably the best team in the world, and a team that is doing some of the biggest collaborations in football in the world. Regardless of that, point number 6, you should absolutely be looking after your player in terms of collaborations, making sure he's doing the right things on social media, he's posting the right stuff. Even there, it's important to understand what the player really wants. Some players just want it simple, want it basic, they don't want to get too involved with social media. But if there is a player that wants more and would like to do brand deals, would like to create a community, create a fan base, you really need to explore that and make the most out of the power they have and the attention they have. Players' profiles on social media look more and more the same. There are a few good examples of players being different, and it does give them a big advantage both for their career and for extra revenue and for a career after football as well. Apart from social media, you want to keep relationships with newspapers, make sure they are talking about your player and they're talking in a good way about your player. You can't always control that, that depends on the player, but you do want to have some sort of overview on the situation. And then collaborations with brands, that is something that is so overlooked. Like, agents are not taking care of this, and they really should, because it's a really important revenue stream, and there are so many opportunities lost and left on the table just because an agent is not paying attention, sometimes doesn't have the time. But that's definitely a very important step. So the last point number 7, is crisis management. So of course, it's fine being there when everything goes well, but you want to be the number 1 call for your player. You want to be the first one there and to support him in the case of any sort of issue. It can be an injury, it can be a family problem, it can be the player feeling down, it can be the player needing somebody to talk. So regardless if it's a major issue, a small issue, crisis management is super important. I've seen everything in my experience in football. I've seen agents not picking up the phone when there was a problem, agents not answering the phone when a club wanted to let go of a player, when a club rejected a player, when there was an injury, when there was a family issue, a divorce, whatever it was. So point number 7, it's super important that you are there for every sort of issue and you manage any sort of crisis in the best possible way, and you're there for your player. Okay, so that station is closed as well. That means I have another 10 minutes walk, but I'm not going to carry on because those were all the points. Guys, as I said, thank you for the support. We are creating an incredible community. Leave and drop a comment here on YouTube because I want to hear more and more from you guys, and we are creating something really interesting for 2026. I will talk to you about this soon. I want you guys being more and more involved in what we're doing, so I'll definitely keep you posted soon on this. But in the meantime, stay safe. Love.